G'day, it's Mr. Bennett here, and today we're going to be looking at interest-only loans. So we'll just go through that now. So what an interest-only loan allows you to do is only pay back smaller amounts of repayment. So you're not paying anything off the principal, therefore your monthly repayments will be smaller. So it's generally used by investors for when they do property investment, where they are basically only looking for capital growth. So what they do is they buy a house for $300,000. In 10 years' time, they'll still owe $300,000 on that property, but hopefully that property might be worth $600,000, and so therefore over that 10-year period, they'll be paying less than someone who's paying their principal off. Right, so interest-only loan. So here's an example of what happens. So let's say you borrowed $50,000 at 7.5%. Then every month you'd have to pay $312.50. Now, if you did a normal loan for the same amount of money, paying that back off, you'd have to pay back $350 roughly. Right, so it's a little bit cheaper. The only negative, I suppose, about interest-only loans is you actually don't pay anything off the principal. Here, even though you're paying an extra $40 roughly a month over that period, you're actually going to own that property after, with $50,000 after that 3 years. All right, so actually over 30 years that is. Sorry. All right, sinking funds. Now, sinking funds are used by a lot of businesses, and certainly the thing about that is they're planning long term for replacement of items. All right, so we'll look at some examples of that. So that allows you to save for a major future cost in putting regular payments away. So you're using the idea of compound interest to actually help you rather than hinder you. So the interest helps you build up your money. So an example might be buying a car or replacing a building or replacing some sort of major equipment. All right, so this one that we're going to look at today is an example of replacing a photocopier. All right, so in 3 years' time we want to replace a photocopier. It costs $45,000. A sinking fund set up that pays 5.45%. compounded monthly. So you're putting money into a fairly long-term account where you can't get the money out until the end. All right, so that's why you're getting a high interest rate. So what payments are needed to be made each month? All right, so there's my photocopier I want to buy. So what you need to do is in 3 years' time, it's 36 months, 5.345%, starting from a balance of zero, have a future value of $45,000. So that means the payments are, in fact, just about $1,150 a month. Right. So when you start looking at what you're paying for that, now if you took out the loan in 3 years' time to actually pay for that particular photocopier because you didn't plan ahead, let's say you got the same interest rate, but you start with a loan of $45,000, then the difference is that you're paying $1,357. Alright, so that works to be about an extra $204 a month, about nearly $7,500 over the loan over 3 years. Can you see how saving ahead will save you a lot of money in the long run? Alright, so it's a better way for business to plan. So here's another example. Right, the local council's borrowed $160,000 to renovate its public tennis courts, pays 8.5% interest per quarter. And sets up a sinking fund earning 6.75% compounded monthly. So the council expects to repay the loan in 10 years' time. So how much interest is paid overall? So the first thing we're going to do is $160,000, and it's 8.25%, and it's a quarter of a year. So every quarter of a year you're going to be paying $3,300. Right, so if you're doing it over 10 years, 4 payments per year, that works out about $132,000 of interest that you're paying over that period of time. All right, calculate the book value of the debt after 5 years. So how much will we owe on the tennis court? So in 5 years, all right, so you're making, obviously in 12 years, you're making 120 payments. All right, so that's 6.75% you're getting for that. So that means that you're having to put away $937.19 to have that future value. So if we're making payments of that, right, into our sinking fund, and half of that time would be 5 years, which is 60 payments, then what it means is after 5 years we'll have 66,000, more roughly 66 or $67,000 in my sinking fund after 5 years. So that will be the book value of my debt, right? So therefore, if we do the 160,000, take the 67, roughly your book value is going to be $93,000. So how much is paid to the lender in total? All right, so you've got 132,000, which worked out to be your interest at 8.25%, plus your 160,000 means that you're paying back in total 292,000 in total. All right. So how much does the council pay in total? Well, the council's making 120 payments of 937, and plus the 132,000, which is the interest they're paying. So that means that they're paying back 244,000 roughly. So is this a sensible way of paying it? Well, in terms of, it would normally cost them 292,000, but they're actually only paying back 244,000, which means that the council's actually about nearly $48,000 better off by using this sinking fund. All right, so keep in mind the key idea of the sinking fund is that you are saving money by getting the interest to work for you rather than just paying back a loan itself. All right, so hopefully that helps. Generally, you would get a question about a sinking fund maybe in a test, so you need to make sure that you know how to do each part of these sort of questions. And the question I went through last is a fairly typical sort of question that you might get.